So Roberto Farinacci, he was born in 1892. He died in 1945. It's a good year to die for a Nazi. One of the most extreme and violent leaders of the Italian fascist movement. But like, he wasn't one of those guys that was like a primary theorist or anything like that. He was really big during the chaotic years. It's always really chaotic in the beginning of fascism. And since fascism didn't even have a name yet, all they really did, they didn't like Benito Mussolini hadn't even named the fascist movement when you had these guys. He was what they called a Ross. A Ross, like in Friends, except even more of an asshole. Basically a local fascist strongman who would go around kicking the shit out of socialists, labor organizers, newspaper offices, or political opponents of people who were Antifa, basically. But they didn't have Antifa back then. They didn't even have the FA, right? There weren't any teams yet. It was still pretty early. There were just like squad leaders, and Farinacci was one of them. There he is, standing right next to Benito Mussolini, looking like a squad leader. He oversaw the beatings. He supported castor oil punishments. Which castor oil punishment, if you don't know what that is, Farinacci was really into it. He would take castor oil and shove it down people's throats and make them shit themselves so that everyone could laugh and make fun of them. I don't know. Does it seem like are you noticing anything? Are you noticing anything similar? This humiliation from people in power. He thought violence was unfortunate. It's always unfortunate when violence erupts, but he thought it was necessary. Does that sound familiar? Do I have to ask you if it sounds familiar? Roberto Farinacci, he thought that it just was an unfortunate thing that had to happen sometimes. Ain't that a bitch? In 1925, after Mussolini consolidated power, Farinacci was appointed secretary of the Nationalist Fascist Party, the National Fascist Party, and he became the institutionalizer. It's kind of like how certain people they work for the man, and then they get into power and they get a special title, a really important title. He trained the thugs, the people beating people in the street, but then he trained the public. He took fascism from being a street movement and he turned it into a disciplined party apparatus, the type of guy you could go to make sure that his loyalty was always to Mussolini, not to the people of Italy, not to any rule of law. He would say it was the rule of law, of course, and that violence was a necessary and an unfortunate thing. But here we are. He pushed internal purges of moderates. He had a hardline loyalty enforcement, suppression of dissent within the movement itself. If anyone spoke out against him, he said, "You're not a real fascist. You ain't a real fascist. You're not like us." He wanted more aggressive repression, stronger alignment with Nazi Germany, and open anti-Semitism well before Italy adopted racial laws in 1938. He was way ahead of his time, Farinacci. Wow, people love this guy. And people forget him. We always talk about Mussolini and Hitler, but these guys are really important to the rise of these fascists. They don't exist without these guys. Man. By 1926, Mussolini removed him as party secretary because once power was consolidated, Farinacci became politically inconvenient. He was too blunt, too visible, and too destabilizing internationally. People got real pissed about Farinacci. And at the end of the war in 1945, when fascism collapsed, Farinacci tried to flee. They caught him at the border. Well, Italian partisans caught him in the chaos. And the man who enforced loyalty for decades died, abandoned by the regime he helped harden. They always end up turning on their friends. You think that these guys like Mussolini, like Hitler, like Donald Trump, that they're going to be there for you. They're not. They turn their backs on you as soon as you become politically inconvenient. That's what happened to Farinacci. He legitimized the movement. He went to bat for Mussolini. But, got too much heat, baby. And Mussolini cut him loose. And before it was too late, he tried to get when the good was good. But it turned out at the border it was too late. And they shot him. They say the Italians took him. They tried him in a kangaroo court. They gave him a trial, and they said, okay, yeah, we're gonna kill you right now. And then they took him out. It was the same day they killed Mussolini. Actually, they took him out to the yard, and they said, okay, here come the firing squad, and turn around, and because they want to give him a coward's death, so they turn around, and at the last minute, supposedly, Farinacci turned around to face them, and said something like "Long live Italy" or something, and they shot him. Blew him full of holes. It's the way it always goes. It's the way it always goes, Kathy. It always goes that way for the fascists.